welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I wanted to talk about perspective. And it was a really neat reading this morning about what we see when we leave things out and what we used to take out of our lives and what we put in and all of this stuff. It was just really cool. Hopefully I won't talk in circles, but I don't know. It was a neat little journey my brain took this morning. But before we do start on the topic, I would like to take a deep breath and just center. And I thought, I'm going to hit record before I do that because I bet everybody listening needs to take a deep breath and just center. And what do I mean by center? I mean like focus inward. That's what I mean about center. Like get rid of all the stuff that is consuming you at the moment. And just, I'm laughing because I'm slightly stressed out because of a person. And it's perspective, right? It's so easy for me to let the person in and alter my serenity. And I have a choice about doing that or not. And when I get to pause throughout the day, even just for a breath, and I talk about that a lot, like this whole meditation thing. I mean, I love meditation, but it's more realistic for me to have it in my life if I make it really brief. And some people may like, I've heard a lot of stuff about start by meditating for a minute and then over time increase your meditation to 5 minutes and then 10 minutes. And you should really find a sweet spot of 20 minutes. I could stop for 20 minutes a day and meditate, but often I don't want to do that lately. And I think it's because I just, from our move, there's just so much to do all the time, which, yes, that's even more reason to stop for 20 minutes. But it's harder for me to comply with that inner voice that's telling me to stop for 20 minutes. It's so much easier for me to comply with the let's just stop and take a breath. Just shut everything off, meaning all my senses. Just turn them all off and take a breath. So let's do that for a moment. It does wonders. It really does. It does wonders for me. Okay, thanks for humoring me with that one. So, I wanted to talk about how our growth shifts depending on what we notice and what we don't notice. The idea that life becomes clearer not by adding more, but by intentionally leaving things out. And this was our reading this morning. This is what I heard, at least. Recovery is a progressive widening of perspective, seeing what was always there but was previously invisible, and at the same time being present. You know, I wasn't always there. Everything else was always there, but I wasn't. So that perspective of what was missing in my life, I was missing in my life. Everything else has always been there. It's just like I mentioned the fall leaves and how when I stopped working due to my disability, I really stopped and looked at the way that the leaves change color, the mid cycle of a leaf changing color. It's always done that my whole life. But when the stress was removed from my life and I was added to my life, if that makes sense, I suddenly saw it. So, how do we do that? So, the reading this morning reminded me of painting. So it said something about painting and how you start to see when you practice painting, you start to see how things like, well, this is what it came across to me as you start to see beyond what is presented in front of you. So like when we used to color as a child, I would draw the tree and then I would color the sky in around the tree because that's how it's presented to me. That's what it looks like. But and even as an adult, without painting, I still was looking at the tree with the sky around the tree. Painting allowed me to see the world from a new perspective. The colors look different. The absence of things are more apparent to me. The sky that exists behind the tree is more, I can see it now. In my mind, I can see it now. And by looking at what's there and what's not there, gives the picture all new meaning to me. So it also reminds me of as when I was a marketing director, I learned so much from my staff, and my graphic designer was really helpful in stressing the importance of white space. And I started to understand it when when she laid it out for me. So I love to play with graphic design. It's difficult for me now with my eye and head pain, but I still like to do it. And I could create like an image and then ask her, can you make this better? And I'd give it to her. And what she did, from what I would always notice, is she took things away or she spaced things apart. She made more space than she did add more digital content. So that space gives art more meaning. It gives more meaning to the content. And that is what I can compare to life, my life. When I started to when I started to get sober, I had this extra space, time, and I didn't know what to do with it. Because what I used to do was sit with a drink in my hand and I was focused on that drink, whether I was watching TV, vacuuming. I used to love to vacuum and drink. I know it's not weird to those of you who are in recovery, or those of you who are not in recovery. Vacuuming and drinking goes hand in hand. But I used to have a glass of wine in one hand and the vacuum in the other hand. And when I wasn't vacuuming, the vacuum would also transport me into being a rock star as well. So, um, take away the drink, and I've got this extra hand over here. Well, take away the drink in my life, and I've got this extra space. Take away the old habits, I've got extra, um, I don't know, it's not time, it's, fidgety, right? What do I do with my hands kind of thing? Put the drink down. What do I do with my hands? I remember being very, and I've talked about this before, very self-conscious about what do I do with my hands when I'm not holding a drink at parties and family gatherings and stuff like that. Luckily, these days, my family and my husband's family, there isn't alcohol there, so I don't have that problem anymore. But and not leaving and not having a career. I know it sounds like a pity party, but it's not. Uh, I don't, I'm not so troubled by like that kind of stuff. Like, what do I do with my hands? I've got all of this. I'm uncomfortable in my own skin. I don't have to face that as much anymore, but I got very good at it before I had to leave my career. So I'm straying off the topic. So removing the drinking, removing the actual physical glass in my hand, removing the chaos, removing the fears, removing the noise, all of that creates space and it gives a whole new perspective on life. So in recovery, I mean, before recovery, when I was drinking, I approached step one, life is unmanageable. Life was unmanageable because it was overcrowded. Like I had too much squeezed into every second. I had to have something to do with my hands. I had to have something to do with my mind. I had to obsess about the past, present, and future. So life was just overcrowded. And when I put down the drink, as a result, I was removing those habits, chaos, fear, and noise. And now I live in this simplicity, really. And I have a lot more space and it allows for clarity. It allows for me to sit down and think deeply about different things that I hear in my meetings. Um, Last night, I had the opportunity to go to an in-person AA meeting in my community, and I hadn't gone for a couple weeks because my head was, just as you guys have been affected by me not recording. I also hadn't been to my in-person AA meeting. I haven't been to church. Like I've really been trying to be very careful about what I do in order to just maintain a manageable level of discomfort in my head. And it's just going to be a couple more weeks of class, and then we'll get back to normal again. Normal being I'll be recording more than 2 days a week. But I appreciate your patience with that. But I did get to go to this in person meeting and my head was killing me. My eyes, the behind my eyes, my temples, just sharp pains in my head, which is very unusual. We were in this, we were in the church, but we were in this like large cafeteria area, and I guess it was maybe brighter than normal. I had my hat on, I had these glasses on. There was like 50 people in this room. I mean, I don't even think I'm exaggerating. There was a lot of people in this class, in this meeting, and which I love. Like I was so happy to be there. And unfortunately, I have to say, was it worth the pain or was it not worth the pain? It was worth the pain. So that's how I have to make decisions these days. But having that space to sit down with a group of like-minded people and be introduced to a topic, which last night was about step one because we had a newcomer, and being able to think about that, not only in the meeting, but when I left and when I got home. And I sat last night and crocheted before bed and listened to my book, which, oh, I don't have my phone right now with me, but it's called The Book Club of Troublesome Women, I think is what it's called. And it's really good. But I was thinking about what I heard in the meeting last night, and I got a text from the newcomer who it's brave. It's brave to me when you show up to a meeting and when you actually reach out to people after the meeting. So that was exciting, and it reminded me of like what it was like in the beginning. And the only reason, my point is the only reason that I have the ability to do that is because my life is not overcrowded anymore. Now, I've gone from one extreme to the other at this point where I'm not working and I don't really interact with many more people than my family and my AA family and a couple of friends. So I do have that simplicity and I love it. I really love it. I shared about how much better my life is like this. So when I was drinking, I was thinking about this morning, I was thinking about what like what was left out, right? Because I'm talking about how our perspective changes when we think about what we don't see in our life or what is missing from our life or what we have taken away from our lives, like taking away the drink, and how that changes our perspective. And so flip the coin over, or however you want to say that. I was thinking about what was taken away from my life when I was drinking. I was missing the meaningful moments because I was feeling them. I couldn't help but think this morning what was missing from my life was me. The neglected areas of relationships, self esteem, spiritual connection carried a weight on me, even though they were ignored. You know, subconsciously, I could feel the effects of it, but I didn't realize that I was neglecting my relationships, my self-care, my spiritual connection. I mean, that would have never fell from my mouth, the words spiritual connection when I was drinking. Um, Recovery includes noticing what was overlooked back then and choosing to treat it with intention now. So sobriety gives me a new lens. I get to see the beauty, the beauty in the leaves, the beauty in silence, the beauty in connection, and the subtleties in emotion as well. Like, I heard somebody say, I think it was yesterday morning, I heard somebody talk about being grateful for the part of me that creates the uncomfortable emotions. And I thought that's really a neat concept in order to ex- um, address them, in order to not run from them, in order to shift my perspective from being afraid of those feelings and hiding from them to actually turning to them and being like, hey, part of me who creates shame, thank you for trying to protect me. But why are you feeling that way? And I just thought that was really cool. And that kind of clarity is only possible in sobriety. Growth is not just adding things into my life and removing the drink, but it's sometimes just accepting what is there as it is, seeing it differently. A tree is still a tree, but today I spend more time looking at it. I see it differently. I see where it is in space. I don't just see the tree for being the tree. I see the tree and the contrast of it with the sky behind it. I see how the sun hits it when the sun is setting just on one side. I see one of my favorite things is in the fall when the leaves are starting to change. When you look at a tree, the side of the tree that gets the most sun is the side that starts to change its color first. And I think it's so beautiful. I want to paint it someday. I haven't gotten around to it, but paint a tree that is changing color on one side because of with the sun shining on it, and the underneath, the majority of it, and underneath where the shadows are still very dark and uh, I don't want to say wet, full of moisture, still because they haven't dried out from the sun. And it's just beautiful. So I get to see it differently. So today I get to choose what I'm going to carry and what I'm not going to carry. I'm not going to, what am I going to leave out? I need to notice it in order to leave it out. So resentments, my old narratives, my imagined catastrophizing that I do. I mean, I was just talking about that last week, catastrophizing when I need to get the title of my car. I told the whole story and I'm just like, catastrophizing that I'm never going to get it. And the whole situation that I need to deal with is just never going to happen. And that's just, I don't have to carry that. I get to choose whether I'm going to think like that or not. Emotional sobriety includes deciding where to place my energy and where to let things drop. And, you know, it's unfortunately, it takes me a little longer to notice and let things drop. But I get there eventually. And letting go is really creating space for something new, for something better. And it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it when you're caught up in something, whether maybe it's a loss, maybe you lost somebody that you love, and it's so difficult to let that go, to process it. But what I know for sure, because I've experienced it, is when I can notice it and really work at it, it takes work. It takes active work, not passive work. It takes active work to get to the point where I'm ready to let it go. Letting go doesn't mean that I don't love anymore, whomever it was that I lost. Letting go means that I'm opening up that space to allow something new and beautiful to live there instead. And isn't that a such a oh, what's the word? Um, Not memorial. It's such a you know what word I'm thinking of right now? It's such a honor. You're honoring the person that you lost by filling that space with something new and beautiful. It's by design. It's beautiful, honestly, that we are able to do that as human beings, accepting what is and what isn't. Humility, accepting what is beyond our control, knowing that even though I was trying to force life to fill in every space, I don't need to do that anymore. Some things are missing for a reason. Space invites serenity and peace and freedom and creativity. Um, and space gives me the ability to give myself grace. If I don't slow down and shut down for a minute, just like how we opened up today, just slowing down, stop, turn it all off, turn it all off. I can do that. It's like the TV. I never used to be able to do that, but my brain is like the TV now. And I know that I can just turn everything off for a second. It's actually easier since my stroke to turn everything off. I guess that's because my brain is really tired most of the time. So, when I decide, okay, it's time to just shut my eyes, turn everything off, stop thinking about everything, just stop. I can do that. And it gives myself some grace to make more intentional decisions. Um, it gives me the ability to surrender when maybe I hadn't even thought about surrendering. So I have that self-awareness. Um, I'm no longer trying to outrun my problems, but instead I'm like sitting down and being like, all right, problem, come here, come sit on my lap, let's talk about it. So, I love it. I love life this way. Life is a beautiful state of subtraction. Growth means sometimes subtracting from our lives, not adding to them. And my life today is shaped just as much by what I let go of, um, as what I hold on to tightly. I hold on to today, I hold on to faith tightly. I hold on to my family tightly. I hold on to my Weimaraner and my English Bulldog tightly. I hold on to my sobriety tightly. But I release a lot of the character defects that they show up every day. Don't get me wrong, they show up every day. But I try to sometimes I just think of the word willingness. And that reminds me, it's almost like uh, I'm I'm my own mother, like I've told you before, and it's like, Rachel, get it together, get your shit together, Rachel. Willingness. And that reminds me of all the things that I need to do for my sobriety, the work that I need to do. And I can discover the big picture that I'm meant to see when I take that time, when I have those reminders, when I do things like talk through it with you. So I'm really happy that I got to record today, and just stick with me. We've got a few weeks of this class I'm taking, and just managing to keep my pain to a minimum, and still function in my own life. So I'm doing the best I can, and I know that you understand, and I really appreciate all of you that come to listen. And I hope you, if I don't talk to you before Thanksgiving, it's right now it's Tuesday at 1:17 p.m. So if I don't talk to you before Thanksgiving, have an enjoyable holiday, hug your family, and remember, for those of you who are in recovery, know that if you have nowhere to go for Thanksgiving, there are Thanksgiving alcathons all over the world. Okay, Virginia, at least. Um, just go online and look up Thanksgiving Alcathon, and there are feasts to be had. There are 24 by like round the clock meetings, and nobody needs to be alone. So check that out if you aren't quite sure still what you're doing for the holiday. You don't need to be alone. And thanks for listening. I will talk to you tomorrow.